I brought this ASUS TUF F15 about 6 months ago now, and it's been used pretty much every day. And I've noticed recently that the fans seem to be kicking in at almost like max speed when I'm using it on certain games. So I figured possibly the thermal paste and the thermal pads are drying out on the laptop already. So just running a quick firm arc and CPU burner. You can see that we're up to like 95 degrees. The main complaint is how hot the palm rest gets. I mean, this area is not too bad, but here you can feel the CPU pretty much and the GPU there. But there, it physically burns your hand. I haven't got a good thermal camera at home, unfortunately, but I've got this. This is saying 51. So near where the fan is. It's not the most accurate thing in the world, but it's warm, this laptop is, definitely cooks your hand. As you can see there, obviously, as well, CPU is at 95. I've seen it go up to 98 before. Obviously, it's bottlenecking the GPU running that. But if I run a separate CPU load stress test, it will see almost 100 degrees, this laptop. So I figured take it apart, give it a new set of thermal paste. And I want to address a problem that, because I repair laptops full time, that's what I do these days, I repair laptop motherboards full time. Wanted to show you a bit of a serious problem that I've seen on all the top end ASUS gaming laptops and the low end ones like this, because it's only an i5 12500 with an RTX 3050. But I've seen it on the ones with like 5090s and proper powerful 13th gen chips that seem to be lacking in a certain area on the coolant system that probably isn't doing it any good. But I just want to see if what I do after this is able to cool down this palm rest even a bit slightly, because it is hot, man. I know it's just 51 degrees there, but you can't really hold your hand on there for long without it being uncomfortable. So yeah, what I'm going to do here today is basically upgrade the original thermal pads that are used on like the VRMs with something that I've salvaged. So I shall show you this. Got to pre-warn people real quick as well, with the screw sets on these laptops, on these TUF gaming laptops, you need to take note of where each screw goes. It's kind of common sense, but these two outer ones, they are smaller than the rest, and these, and these are smaller than these two. These two are longer, and if you put these two in any of these positions, it will completely destroy the case of the laptop and bulge out the plastic because the screw is going through it basically. So make sure when you take any laptop or any device apart, you always take note of where the screws go. And I mean, you can feel by hand when you're tightening it up. If it feels like it's doing damage, it probably is. It's already too late at that stage anyway, but just make sure you take note and use a bit of common sense when you're taking them apart. Here's the inside of this laptop. It's a pretty nice board. It's a pretty standard board for the ASUS TUFs that you see. They're all pretty much the same. First thing you want to do before you do anything in a laptop, no matter what all the experts say or whoever tells you, I'm going to disconnect the battery. I mean, it is easier to unplug it there, but in this case I unplugged it on the board. You want to disconnect the battery. You replace the RAM, you disconnect the battery. You replace the screen, you disconnect the battery. You disconnect the battery whenever you do anything on these boards. End of. You might get away with changing the screen, but if you short any of these connections together, you're going to end up with 19 volts on a data line. It's going to go straight back to the CPU and kill the CPU, well, the chipset. So I've had this for a few months now, and actually you can see it's getting a bit dusty here. The fans are actually completely clogged up pretty much. which is actually quite surprising to me. Heatsink seems completely clean, but it just looks like the fan is on both the fans. There's two fans. There's one dedicated just to the CPU heat pipes. Definitely getting a bit of stuff in there, aren't they? This is an i5 12500 with a RTX 3050 with 4 gigs of VRAM, 16 gigs DDR4. I have got a 32 gig kit on order. See, this is the heat pipe setup for this one. So seems to be pretty adequate. It does get quite hot on this side though, the CPU side. And as you can see, it is completely unmolested. That is actually a bubble in the screw, that isn't a screw indentation. That is a bubble in the sticker. So, looks like I've already opened it, but I haven't. That looks a bit better. Right, sweet. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take out all 8 screws on the heatsink. You can take them out in any order, but they do actually have a tightening order written down on all laptop heatsinks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I always tend to follow that. I think that's 9, that one. So you have to take these out, take this one out over here, you have to take the heatsink out. And we're going to see what the situation is, see why it's getting so hot. So I had to take the heatsink out, and I just thought I'd give people a bit of a tip, because I've seen people doing this. You don't want to just pull up on the heat pipes, because they do bend very easy when you took out all the screws. What I do is a bit of heat, and we're going to heat the thermal paste in around the VRM just to help loosen it off a bit, and then we're just going to get something under there and just pull up on the heatsink, and we'll be able to pull it off. Just try and avoid pulling up on the heat pipes, because there's only a bit of solder that holds these in place, and they do bend very easily anyway, because copper is a very soft metal. So yeah, take note of that. Right, so I've literally just popped off the heatsink for the first time. And you see how it goes. Oh, it's pretty bad. It's happened, yeah, it's, oh my. I've ran this laptop for 6 months, ASUS. I've run it for 6 months, and the warranty runs out soon, at the end of this year. And this is what we get. Do they look like they've been contacting that heatsink properly to you? Anybody watching this? They have not been touching that heatsink, them VRAM MOSFETs. Probably explains some of the lag spikes I've been having on this thing, even on turbo mode. The VRAM's all cool properly. But the thermal paste is definitely gone dry. See that? It's not even smearing in, it's just totally dry. But that's probably why the palm rest is burning up so badly, because half these MOSFETs, I mean look at that, you can see, man. There's no kind of check on their quality output department. I mean, look. Stuff has barely been touching that. I understand probably the heat piping is mainly for the VRAM, but that CPU's kicking out as much heat as it does. These MOSFETs, you know, they're dissipating a lot of power. Everyone says the VRMs don't get warm, but they do. They dissipate a lot of power. So we're gonna get some cotton buds and start cleaning this up, and we're gonna come up with a better solution than ASUS did. Alright, so I've got the laptop cleaned up. The entire VRM clean, and the CPU and the GPU. Try to clean off as much of the greasiness as I can. I don't know what the original stuff is that ASUS seems to use, but it's very greasy. You can see that there's more coming off. You see that the texture of these is changing as I go. But yeah, these have been cleaned with IPA. Cleaned up as best I can get them on the heatsink. Nice and clean. So what I'm going to do now, and this is my solution. Anyone that's repaired consoles or anything like that in the past will recognise this stuff. This is the Xbox Series X and S and 1X thermal putty that they use. And we have a load of these at work that I've salvaged this stuff from. And it is probably the best stuff for this problem right here that I've found so far. I've tried all the K5 Pro, I've tried the Thermal Grizzly, I've tried all the other stuff, and there's just certain ones that they just don't create a good enough seal between the part and the heatsink without spending a lot of money on it. And yeah, this is the solution. I'm going to cut off little blobs of this basically and put them on each part that's covered under the heatsink. And then for the thermal paste, my favourite thermal paste, the best stuff, 2 NTH1. I love this thermal paste. Prefer it more than Arctic Silver these days. So yeah, we're going to do that. I'll show you that when I've got all that done. I've just done the thermal paste and thermal putty applications, and before anyone calls this excessive, this is not excessive. This is exactly what we want. Because we want there to be a guaranteed physical connection between these hot running chips and this heatsink. And we want there to be a guaranteed air seal that is going to keep this paste nice and wet and sealing the air out of it rather than drying up and developing air pockets and hot spots. So I always make sure with these laptop CPUs and GPUs that they're completely covered. Same with normal chips, I always do that anyway. And obviously any of this stuff that's going to squidge out from the heatsink, we'll just scrape off afterwards and clean it up. But there is going to be now a complete thermal seal between these chips and the heatsink, which is what I'm more happy about. Because if you think about it, if you have any common sense that is, these start running hotter because the connection between these and the heatsink is broken down. These start running hotter, and obviously this heat pipe isn't just for the VRAMs, this is actually for the VRMs, this heat pipe mainly. These VRAMs you could probably just get away with having that metal plate there. So that heat pipe, when the connection breaks down, these start running hotter, but this is still dissipating more heat because the thermal paste connection is better. What do you think is going to happen with the heat? It's going to transfer through the board to the CPU and the GPU, so they're going to then run hotter. So I'm sick of all these people saying you don't need to worry about the VRMs, you can just put thermal paste on these to seal the gap there. Do not do this. Do something proper. Make sure you get the proper putty and do a proper job of it. Do not put thermal paste on your VRMs, put putty. Something that is going to guarantee a proper seal between that and that. So that's the rant over. This is the final product. I'm going to put the heatsink on. We're going to see how much squidges out. Sweet. Alright, so I'm done with this laptop now. I've cleaned it all up really well. And the main thing is you can now see a definite connection between everything. The heat pipe, the heatsink, the MOSFETs. Everything has a thermal connection. VRAMs as well. Sweet, now clean the fans and plug the battery in, get this laptop going again, and we're going to do another stress test and see if it's made any difference. So with the laptop back together, and I just wanted to make another comment about the screws, is that you don't over tighten these, because if you over tighten them you run the risk of pushing through the casing. So we're going to get it going and see if it's any cooler. Alright, so I've been running the laptop just over an hour. Obviously the CPU temperature is still 95 degrees, but that's normal for a laptop CPU. It definitely feels a lot cooler on the palm rest. It feels a lot better. We'll see though. Still probably at about 50 degrees. Hasn't really made much difference. GPU's at 88, it's a max load. Hopefully in games it'll make a bit more of a difference, because obviously in games it's not going to be at full max load all the time, it's going to be variating. So hopefully gaming it will improve things, but so far there's no difference. Yeah, the thermometer's still at about 50 degrees. It's even warmer actually. Anyway, hopefully during gaming it'll make a bit of a difference. I'm going to give it, call it quits on that so far anyway. Anyway, it's just a quick video on changing the thermal paste on this laptop. I'll let you know how it fares in games.